one of the San Francisco Bay Area's iconic dance contributors to the world, is with us tonight, Liss Fain, to speak with us about her new world premiere, The Imperfect is Our Paradise. Welcome.
Thank you.
I've always been fascinated by the titles of your works. They're like almost haiku. There's a lot to the title. No just one name titles for you. Where did the impulse for this come, and what is The Imperfect is Our Paradise about?
I was interested in, when I was thinking about this piece, in how the force of history pushes you forward with it, and how you adapt to that, and how you push against it, which is how I came to use William Faulkner's The Sound and the Fury as some of the text for this piece. And when I was thinking of a title, I read Wallace Stevens, who's one of my favorite poets, and I sometimes do that. I read his poetry. And sometimes he just encapsulates an idea beautifully. And so I read that line in his poem, and I thought, that's it. That is it. That's what it's about. You don't create the context in which you're born. You don't create the context that you have to live within. And that becomes your paradise.
Well, and are you being ironic when it's a paradise? Is it always a paradise as perceived in this production?
No, I'm not being ironic.
Yeah.
And it's not a paradise in the way a Disney World might picture it, but your paradise is how you see your world. Mm-hmm. And that's the gist of it. Like, the way you decide to interpret your world becomes your paradise.
So now you say that parts of the text are from Faulkner's The Sound of the Fury.
Yeah.
But this would not be a dance version of The Sound of the Fury, correct?
No, this is not a narrative retelling of that story in any way, shape, or form. What I was interested in with The Sound of the Fury was the way Faulkner has multiple levels of time existing simultaneously. And what that does is create this really powerful emotional core. A character will be narrating something that's happening in the present, and in mid-sentence, a memory from some period will come in, and then it will go out, and sometimes you don't know where you are, but you're definitely very present in the character's head. And what that helped me do in creating the piece is latch on to what the emotional core I was looking for is, and how these people who are caught in this trajectory of history, how they see it, how they deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Now, your work is unique. And, I think the phrase you used to describe this piece is environmental, and you've used that to describe your other pieces. It wraps the audience in it in an emotional kind of web. How has your work changed over the years you've been choreographing here in San Francisco?
I began by doing more traditional proscenium work, and I got to a point in 2010 when I thought, I don't want to do this anymore. And I was commissioned at that point, just serendipitously, to do an installation in an art gallery in Germany, in Dusseldorf, that had 3 rooms in 3 separate buildings. And so we did this complicated installation that turned out to be really fun to work on and really successful. And that was it. I just thought, this is really interesting to have people walking around at will, seeing the work from
not sitting in a chair watching.
Yeah, they see the work from multiple perspectives. They move whenever they want to move. The piece itself is not oriented towards one front only. It's oriented towards a 360-degree front. The shape of the space can be determined by us. And it's been really fun because it makes each piece an extremely unique environment. I mean, one piece was sort of shaped like a river. One piece was sort of like a gallery.
Yeah, I remember the river piece, yeah.
Yeah, so And this piece, because it's for a smaller environment, we've created a space for the dancers that is a jagged in and out configuration, so the audience can sort of move in and out of these little alcove type areas.
Now, the venue for The Imperfect is Our Paradise is the new ODC space in San Francisco at 17th and the cross street. Treat, I think you're right.
Yeah.
What is that space like to work in?
Well, since it's been redone, it's really beautiful. It's really beautiful. It's a medium-sized theater, so it's a little bit cozy, but because of the configuration of the seats, it actually feels very airy and open. And we are having the seating be a part of the installation.
Does that make audience members nervous? I remember when I was in theater school, people would say, "No, don't break the fourth wall." It makes the audience nervous. And then, of course, there was a whole school of theater that was all about breaking the fourth wall. Do you ever come across that in your productions where the audience is like, I really just want to sit here and watch this. I didn't think I was going to be taking part.
Well, some people do, and what's really interesting is we have some audiences that just move around all the time. They walk onto the space, they walk everywhere, they're not at all afraid, and we have other audiences where people really do just want to sit down.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting because you don't know what you're going to end up with.
That's got to be hard on a performer, on a dancer as well.
They love it. They actually like it. It's actually been really successful for everybody.
Now, this piece has 7 dancers, correct? Yeah. And do you refer to them as dancers or artists or actor dancers? What's the term you use for the people who are in your work?
Well, they are not actors. They are dancers, and they are artists. So we call them dancers, but they're definitely artists. And the creation of the piece is very collaborative. I mean, I come in with the ideas, and I choose the text, and I start creating the movement. But then when we start working on the movement, it becomes something beyond, far beyond what I started out with in my own studio. So they're both dancers and artists.
So these 7 dancers that you're working with, how many pieces have you done with them?
There's a core group of dancers, 5 dancers, who have been with me for a while now, like 3 to 4 years.
So they know your dance vocabulary.
Yes. Yeah. So we're familiar with each other.
Yeah. And in this particular piece, what would you like the audience to take away from it?
Well, this is a performance installation. The audience is inside the immersive set and sound environment. They're close to the dancers, so it's a very visceral, visual experience. It's very powerful emotionally, it's thought-provoking, it's beautiful. So I want them to come away feeling as if they've experienced something that is all of those things.
Now, you came to the Bay Area from Rhode Island, I believe, in 1989.
Yes.
So you've seen a lot of changes in the Bay Area cultural community and dance community. How do you feel about it now? Is it strong? I mean, there's been so much in the press lately about, oh, San Francisco's too expensive, artists are fleeing, it's hard to work, it's expensive. What do you say to that?
I think San Francisco has an extremely vibrant, dynamic community, arts community. I love it. Everybody's a little worried about what's happening now because of what's happening with rental prices, and that is daunting. I don't know where it's going to go. I think now we have a greater concentration of arts organizations than any metropolitan area in the country. And it's very diverse. Everybody feeds off each other. It's what attracts people to live in the city. It's what attracts tourists to come to the city. So it's really important that it be supported.
All right, so you don't see dance flight going on, people going, I'm done. Too expensive.
No, people really want to be here. The training is good here. The performance opportunities are good. The number of companies doing interesting work is huge and diverse, and people really like that.
Now, you tour a lot internationally.
Yeah.
2 different worlds. I mean, Europe and the United States fund dance and the arts very differently. Do you have a preference for where you perform or where you work?
No, I'm American. I like living here. So I don't want to run off and move to Europe. I mean, what's wonderful about being in Europe is people are just used to going to live performance. And so when you go to Europe, people just come to live performance. I mean, what a common theme in conferences here is attracting audiences, building audiences. In Europe, that's a given, that the audiences are there and they will come.
Right, so how do you do that here? Continue to build audience? I mean, it seems like every few years there is a conference or a series of conferences about, how do we develop a new audience? How do we develop new funding streams? It's kind of like you're always fighting to be able to afford to do your art. And, on paper, San Francisco right now is going through this huge economic boom. Is any of it trickling down to the Liss Fain Dance Company?
Well, some of it is. I mean, I do get some grants, and we get box office income, and we have individual donations, and we do, you know, all the usual Facebook, Twitter, e-blast.
More work for you.
More work. And, you know, word of mouth. I think my integrating text into my work has had the benefit of bringing in an audience that's interested in literature, interested in spoken word, although that wasn't why I initially started doing it. It's just this ongoing process. Well, how do you get people interested in what you do? I mean, is it the photographs that you have? Is it the concept behind the piece that you're working with? Is it word of mouth through your performers and your friends? It's all the above.
It's all of that. In our last few moments, talk to me about what's next. What's after The Imperfect is Our Paradise? Have you already started germinating that?
We have this great project coming up. It's really wonderful. In April 2015 at Z-Space, we're doing something that we haven't ever done before. It's a performance installation that involves 3 choreographers, myself and 2 guest choreographers, Amy Syward and Christian Burns.
Wow, Amy, who's done so much work with Smuin.
Right. And my installation designer, Matthew Antaki, is going to design the installation before any of us have started to do our pieces, and we are going to create our pieces on the basis of his installation. And we're going to present it, I want to present it as one evening length work. So one piece is going to go into the next piece rather than having it one person's piece, intermission, etc. So it's going to be an evening length piece. And I think it's really exciting because in the past, you know, I come up with the idea, we start rehearsing, Matthew comes up with the set and installation design, and this is turning it on its head.
So again, even more environmental collaboration for Liss Fain. Thanks for being with us on the show.
Thank you so much. It's
always
been great.
Good to see you. Next up, we're going to learn about the ongoing work of the Chicana Latina Foundation and empowering communities of color. We'll be right back.